You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107. My name is Simon Rusnak. This year, the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra turns 50, and they mark the milestone anniversary with an exceptional season, internationally renowned soloists, brand new compositions, reconnecting and cultivating the best in Canadian music with more than 10 concert programs and 6 online offerings. Managing Director Vicky Young and Education and Outreach Manager Suzu Enns have joined me both to give us a little bit of an overview on this summer's morning. Hello to you both.
Good morning.
Hello.
Well, it's so nice to see you both. 50 years, what an achievement. Vicky, what goes through your mind when you think about celebrating a half century of the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra?
Well, it really makes me think about what a vibrant place Manitoba was and Winnipeg was even in 1972. There are a number of organizations celebrating 50th anniversaries next season, and I think it's a real testament to the kind of pioneer spirit that was operating in the arts sector in 1972. So we're really excited to be able to celebrate and look both backwards and forwards at the same time.
Well, I think that is something that the MCO has always done so well is celebrate, encouraging the new, honoring the old, stellar players, curated concerts, amplifying voices, engaging with the community. The list goes on and on and on. Suzu, as one who's newer to the organization, you came on board just this past season. What is it that drew you to the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra?
I'm a lifelong MCO fan. I was very fortunate that my family took me to MCO concerts, and I've told this to Vicky and the rest of the team so many times. But I just remember sitting, probably it's about the third row at Westminster, and just being so close to the orchestra. It was such a special experience. So I really grew to know all the musicians then as well, and now to just work with everyone and see it from the other side. It's really an honor. So lifelong fan, and still to this day. So it's wonderful to be back.
Yeah, I'm sure it certainly is. And there's so many lifelong fans with the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra. It's funny you mentioned being there as a kid. I was the exact same way. I remember one concert, I don't know how old I was, but Misha Bruger-Goffsman touched me on the shoulder. That was one of my earliest MCO memories. And that's just one of those special ones. And I'm sure so many people have so many fond recollections. And I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot about those over the coming year. But let's jump right into this celebratory season, one which formally gets underway September 28th at Westminster United Church, the home of the MCO. A pair of sibling virtuosos coming to town. Tell us a little bit about the celebratory opener, Vicky.
Well, we had heard of Yolanda, the violinist, part of the duo, and we're really excited to be thinking of having her on our opening concert. And then actually it was Suzu who mentioned her sister Carmen, who was a cellist. And we thought, wouldn't it be fun to put the two of them together and feature them on a concert in the way that we have with the Chewy brothers, for example, most recently. So we were in contact with them, and I think it's going to be a lovely program featuring them, but also featuring Stravinsky's Pulcinella, which I don't think we've ever really played. We've played adaptations of it. Caitlin Brahms-Jacobs wrote a wonderful wind trio, so it'll be fun to hear the piece, and we'll reprise Julian Grant's lovely jump cuts piece as well on that concert. So really looking forward to welcoming two young female soloists to the stage.
Yeah, Yolanda and Carmen Bruno, violinist cellist siblings. Great way to start things off. There's also the Brandenburg Concerto No. 1 on the program too. So a little bit of new, a little bit of old. It's going to be, well, I mean, it's classic MCO to kick off the 50th year. As much as I would like to break down every one of these individual concerts, we just don't have enough time. But of course, do plan on doing interviews with some of the musicians and special guests closer to performance time. So we'll kind of skip over the second concert, which pits Beethoven against Haydn as sort of student-teacher side by side. And then the third concert in November welcomes back a longtime MCO collaborator, the Winnipeg Singers, who are also celebrating a special anniversary, right? Suzu, can you tell us more about this one?
Yes, it's also the 50th anniversary. Is that right? I'm going to defer to Vicky a little bit here. She knows the details in incredible depth that I don't have in the bag at the moment, perhaps, but very exciting. Yes, I can't wait for this concert. yeah, we've got Bach, of course, and Handel water music. I'm especially looking forward to that one.
Vicky, this is what you were alluding to, right? Back in 1972, not only the MCO started off, but also the Winnipeg Singers, the professional choir, right?
That's right. That's right. And Manitoba Opera
Mm-hmm.
and well, yes, and many others. I
Yeah,
don't want
that's just
to
yeah, that's just
go
it,
any
right? I
out,
mean,
but yeah.
it's just such a wonderful community of musicians and music makers, and like you say, a lot of auspicious celebrations taking place in the coming year. Just out of curiosity, Vicky, how many times has the MCO collaborated with the Winnipeg Singers? Do you know off the top of your head?
Oh, I don't know offhand. No, every couple of years we feature a
Mm-hmm.
pretty significant choral work, and we alternate back and forth between Canzona and the Winnipeg Singers. But I think over the years it's probably been more heavily weighted in favor of the Winnipeg Singers, just because they have a varied approach to music
Mm-hmm.
making. But it'll be fun. We're doing Bach's Lutheran Mass with them, and we wanted to find something that was not often performed in Winnipeg, and which both parties would enjoy performing. So we're really looking forward to that, and to the chance to work with Alexander Weiman again, who conducted some of our online concerts in 2020 during our online pandemic presentations.
And so Winnipeg audiences will have the chance to see him in person on the podium leading the MCO and the Winnipeg Singers. To close out the 2022 portion of the 22-23 season, the MCO welcomes back another favorite conductor. Speaking of conductors, Scott Yu, and he's going to be bringing a special guest along with him. Vicky, tell us a little bit more about this one.
Well, Scott is a longtime friend of the orchestra. He's been coming to perform with us probably since about 2005. I can't quite believe it myself that it's been that long, and maybe I'm off by a year or so. But he's just such a wonderful collaborator. He's a musical person. He plays violin himself, and his wife, Alice Dade, is a flautist, and she's going to come and perform some wonderful music with us. There's a flute concerto that was written for her by an American composer called Michael Fine, who's very well known as a recording producer and has been very influential. And she'll also play a Bach orchestral suite, which she also played on one of the PBS productions or presentations that Scott did in his series called Now Hear This. If you haven't seen it, it's just he's just a wonderful explainer and enthusiast of music, and he takes us around the world tracking different types of music and different composers, and he is really engaging, as is Alice. So I think it'll be just a super concert.
Yeah, what a way to wrap up the first portion. If you're just tuning in, my name is Simon Rosnack. You're listening to Winnipeg's Classic 107, and I'm chatting with the MCO's Vicky Young and Suzu Enns about the upcoming 50th anniversary season. So things wrap up in November for the first part, and then audiences are going to have to wait until March to begin the back half of the year, when two Canadians feature prominently on the program, one performer, one composer. Suzu, can you tell us about how 2023 starts off for the MCO?
Well, Lizzie Hoyt, mezzo soprano, she was the soloist in a May concert, May 2022. Is that right, Vicky?
Mm-hmm.
I was there. Yes. It was great. I was there, and it was stellar. She was phenomenal.
Incredible concert. I'm so excited to see her back. She has such a unique background as well.
Yeah, as a Celtic singer as well. She kind of crosses genres, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I can't wait to see her back. And Julian Pellicano again as the director, who also worked with us last March. I think it's the same March concert, right? Opening the spring season. Yes, again. But I'll let Vicky add more to that, of course. But I can't wait for Kevin Lau also to be back with his
MCO composer in residence. Yes, very, very exciting.
Yes, he's written some really memorable pieces for us. And of course, we remember the oboe concerto, Prayer in a Green Cathedral, that he wrote, which Caitlin Brahms-Jacobs performed this past season, in which we toured in Manitoba. And we were casting around for a good idea for another piece for him to write. And after working with Lizzie and just seeing the kind of dynamism that she brings to her performances, we asked Kevin if that might be a good fit, because we had been talking about a vocal work, and he just jumped at the chance. So we're really looking forward to seeing how that develops.
Oh, that is going to be really cool. And I mean, you mentioned the development and sort of like the natural progression of these things, for him to see the dynamism of Lizzie on stage, and then to see, okay, well, where can I go with this? It's almost like that partnership with Caitlin Brahms Jacobs. They got to know each other really, really well. And then the result is just so stunning. And that's what happens when musicians and composers really get to know one another and really get to gel and mesh. And the MCO just really does this so wonderfully in terms of curating new works. And there's a concert at West End Cultural Center that later that month, in the month of March, features a whole bunch of established as well as up-and-coming composers. So a really unique opportunity there too, right, Suzu?
Yes, I'm really excited about that concert too. I haven't seen the MCO or any smaller groups as part of an MCO concert in West End Cultural Center, so I'm really excited about this. This is actually one of the concerts we have a matinee planned also, so I'm very excited to hopefully see some school groups at that. So that's a bit of a different experience. For this concert, I know we're going to talk about Carrie Harper and a lot of the composers featured here. I should say, like Chris Byman is one of the composers. I went to school with him, a long time friend. So it's just amazing, all the connections we make here in our community. So I'm very excited about this.
It is such a supportive community. And I mean, you get that 2 degrees of separation in Manitoba. There's no 6 degrees of separation here, I don't think. And so a great opportunity to see some familiar faces up on the stage there. And then the MCO returns back to their home at Westminster, featuring more great composers, and as well as artists closely associated with the MCO artist in resident Aislinn Noski, and the singular cellist composer Chris Dirksen. Vicky, what is there to add to this? I mean, I feel like that sells itself.
Well, it really does. I mean, both Aislinn and Chris are really stellar performers on stage, and they both have a lot to say through their music, whether it is expressing someone else's music or performing their own, in Chris's case. And in fact, when we were asking Aislinn about any up-and-coming young composers and performers that she was particularly excited about, and this was a couple of years ago, Chris's name came up. It was right at the top of the list. And we thought, okay, well, let's start the conversation with her. And we were fortunate enough to be able to get a little time slot in her composing calendar. And she's writing a piece that she's going to perform with us. And she's also written an overture to this piece already. And it sounds like it comes from a really inspired place too, because she's calling it the Spider Beings or Spider Being, and it's inspired by a creation myth about spiders and how the world developed and how it was populated. So I think it'll be an amazing piece. And the rest of the program has people like Boccherini and Telemann, and Aislinn has very carefully created a program to support Chris's piece and to highlight it and feature it. So I think it's going to be a real treat.
Yeah, April 12th, circle it on the calendar. That another one of those shows that also has a matinee performance, 1 and 7:30. So 2 opportunities to take that in. Again, like you said earlier, Suzu, that opportunity to connect with school groups and take in the shows and be there for new works, as well as reintroducing or perhaps introducing for the first time old ones. The last 3 concerts of the year, I'm truly speechless. This is where things really well, as if that wasn't enough. Just some of the biggest names in classical music. Vicky, just lay it out for us. Who's coming to town, or I should say, actually, who's coming back home to perform?
Well, James Ennis is coming to spend 2 nights with us, and we're very excited. You know, his star has really shone over the last few years, and we weren't sure if it was going to even be possible to find a couple of dates for him. He's just so busy, especially after the pandemic. You know, once the floodgates opened, there was a lot of competition out there, but he made some time for us, and we're really grateful because because we know that audiences will really appreciate having the chance to see him in that intimate space that Suzu was referring to. So we're very excited to have him back playing a Mozart Violin Concerto number 5. And I think it's the longest one too. So
good.
That's
good. Yeah, getting our money's worth there. That's for sure.
And of course, on that program, we're also really excited to be featuring a new piece by Larry Strawn, local Winnipeg composer. We performed a string piece of his last year, and we were so taken with it. Right away, we thought we need to have something that's a little bit longer and a little bit more substantial. So we'll be performing a piece of his on that program along with the Shostakovich Chamber Symphony. So really nice programming once again.
Yeah, totally. So James Ennis comes to town, and then you follow that up with the fiendishly talented Marc-André Amelin, who's been a regular collaborator alongside the MCO. Suzu, have you ever seen Marc-André Amelin perform in person before? I'm curious.
I don't think so. No, I'm really looking forward to this one. And Mozart, you can't go wrong with Mozart again. Yes, looking forward to this.
Vicky, do you remember the last time Marc-André Amelin was in town?
Yes.
And he's one of those players, you can listen to the recordings, and at least for me, you wonder, does he have an 11th finger? You know, he's that talented. That's what we joke about. So he's one of those players you kind of got to see to believe, right?
That's really true. And he has a very calm demeanor on stage. He comes out and he seems very unassuming. But once again, his expression really comes through the music. He is a conduit for this wonderful music. And he is such an accomplished musician that it used to be that he would just play pretty much whatever you asked him to. He's done really varied repertoire with us, over the years. And it is nice to have him playing something that audiences will find a little bit more familiar, because he's really run the gamut over the years. And it's been exciting, but I think it's also really wonderful to hear him play something familiar, because then you really get a sense of him as a player as much as his interpretation of the music.
And speaking of return performers, to wrap up the 50th anniversary year, none other than Tracy Dahl and Adriana Truchman once again on stage performing alongside the MCO. If you ask me, you can't get too much of this pair. A daily dose will be welcome, but if it becomes an annual thing for the MCO, I am all for it. Suzu, tell us about how the season wraps up.
It's been really exciting to hear Vicky and Ann Manson, especially speaking about this concert, because it's going to be new for everyone. Kind of reworking this opera, Alcina Handel, again, an amazing piece. But it's going to be a very different experience for the audience, I think, in terms of how it's staged, and maybe a bit of a different presentation. But I'll let Vicky speak a little bit more about that too.
Yeah, well, we're collaborating with Geneviève Pelletier, who is the artistic director of the Cercle Molière, Théâtre Cercle Molière in Winnipeg. And we've collaborated with her in the past. And we know what a creative and inventive person she is. So the idea is to do a concert version of Alcina, pared down a little bit because it can run quite long. And we have wonderful singers. We have Tracy and Adriana, but we also have Rehab Chayeb, who is a Canadian singer whose career is just really taking off right now, and a wonderful singer called Rose Nagar Tremblay as Bradamante, and another wonderful local singer, Nolan Kaler. So there's a lot to be celebrated, and I think it's going to be a really interesting interpretation of a Handel opera. And of course, Anne comes from an opera background. She often conducts opera around the world, and I think in our 50th anniversary, we thought let's indulge ourselves and just do something a little bit different.
And why not? A 50th anniversary, certainly a celebration, and that's exactly what you have planned. We know that it's, still, I'm going to tell myself it's the middle of summer, but, it's mid-August almost. if people are thinking to themselves, well, I want to get a jump on things, subscriptions are already available, right? They're available to purchase through the MCO website or the box office, right?
That's right.
So yes, don't sleep on it. It's going to be a great season. Wonderful. If you've never subscribed to the MCO, this is probably a great time to jump on board. If you're a return subscriber, then hey, what a celebration it will be. Lots to look forward to. I imagine lots to prepare for the MCO. But in the meantime, enjoy the rest of the summer, and congrats to you both again on 50 years of the Manitoba Chamber Orchestra.
Thank you, Simon.
Thanks so much.
And you can find more details anytime by heading to the MCO website, themco.ca, or of course the Classic 107 website. Well, lots to celebrate.